What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Week 11 Thursday Night Football Showdown breakdown here on Sharp Sports Network. I'm your host, Joe Bewer, and I'm going to be breaking down some of my favorite plays for this Thursday Night Football game between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Cleveland Browns. Looking to redeem ourselves after that Monday Night Football abysmal game where everything went wrong, Seahawks, 49ers, injuries, and such. So looking to bounce back here with a nice Thursday night slate here, which we are known to crush. So let's jump right into this. It's going to be an interesting game. The Browns have been getting torched this year by opposing defenses, and Pittsburgh has a very stout opposing defense here. I think this game is going to be a little closer than a lot of people think. It's currently at a 41 over-under with the Browns favored 2.5 points, so this game is projected to stay close. I want to jump over to NFL Savant before we get into this breakdown just so we can go ahead and talk about the targets here and kind of see where Mason Rudolph and Baker Mayfield are tossing the ball. So, over here on the Steelers, Mason Rudolph is just not throwing the ball. He's just really not. he just doesn't look like a true quarterback. Juju's getting a majority of the targets, Deontay Johnson as well. He's just not throwing deep. So when Juju plays in the slot, he benefits a little bit more, which I think he's going to do today. So I think that Juju is very much so in play. And then over here, as far as red zone, you have Vance McDonald and Juju kind of leading that as well. And then for the rushes, we get James Conner back this game. So no more Jalen Samuels. It is James Conner back, and he is very cheap, very affordable in your lineups. So over here on the Browns side, it's Jarvis Landry and Odell Beckham Jr. just leading the way in the passing game. It's very far and few between that you'll see a pass go any other way. So it's going to be a very tough matchup for Odell Beckham today. He's at a very buy low spot. Nick Chubb really just owning the rush. But Odell Beckham is priced down very affordably on this slate. He's going to receive another incredible matchup for the Steelers here, actually. He's going to receive Joe Hayden on him, which is going to be definitely a tough matchup. Minkah Fitzpatrick playing up top as well. So I think that it's going to be a very tough matchup for Odell Beckham. Last week against Tre'Davious White, they really wanted to force the volume, and they volumed with 12 targets to Odell Beckham Jr. Tre'Davious White did go ahead and break up 4 of those, and Odell Beckham had yet another terrible game. So for me, there's 2 ways you look at the slate. You're either playing a quarterback or you're not. My favorite captain play as of now is James Conner. I think you can get exactly what you want with James Conner in captain. He's going to be fully back. I think it's an incredible spot for James Conner going up against a rushing defense that allows an insane amount of rushing yards. The 27th ranked in the league in rushing defense. They're not stopping the run at all. We know James Conner is a workhorse. I expect him to get a full workload. I expect him to be involved in the check down passing game. I expect all of this to be in full effect. So I want to definitely target and captain spot the side of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Steelers rank defensively first in sacks and second in overall quarterback hits on the year. 71 quarterback hits, 34 sacks so far. I expect Baker Mayfield to have quite an interesting night tonight. I think that he's going to be very much challenged. The Pittsburgh Steelers have forced a turnover in at least one in the past 8 games in a row. So look for them to really pressure quarterback. They're third in the league in rushing in defense. They're just not allowing. They've only allowed 2 rushing touchdowns all year. They're just not allowing rushing touchdowns at all. So I have no interest in Nick Chubb really today. I think that he's going to have a very tough time. He's going to get the volume, but I think he's going to have a tough time. So who I am interested in is Juju as a very, very nice bounce back spot after having 2 terrible games in a row. The Cleveland Browns get torched in the slot. They have allowed Amari Cooper to run all over them with 217 yards and 2 touchdowns. They've allowed Cooper Kupp to go all over them for 240 yards and a touchdown. They allow a lot of slot receivers to just go off. And 8,600 for Juju is a perfect buy low spot, as he's just not been seeing the volume that I think he should be seeing. So for me, if I'm putting James Conner in the captain, you don't have to roster a quarterback. You don't have to do that because James Conner is not necessarily going to benefit 100% of the time from Mason Rudolph. So there's a few ways I look at this. If I don't roster a quarterback, then I'm going to roster all the weapons that go along with that quarterback and the opposing team as well. If I have any interest in anybody at all from the Browns, It's going to be Jarvis Landry. I think that Joe Hayden matchup for Odell Beckham Jr. Not saying Joe Hayden's a super stout cornerback, but he's definitely going to do enough. And I'll take the $1,200 savings for somebody who's had double-digit targets in the past 3 games and has double-digit fantasy points in the past 3 games with at least 60 yards in the past 3 games. I love Jarvis Landry here today. I think he is the person that is going to explode for the Browns. Now we have to look at which side is going to be throwing the ball more. I think that the defense is going to play a decent amount into this game. I think that Baker Mayfield is going to have to throw 35, 40 times in this game since they're going to be trailing, I assume. So Jarvis Landry is going to benefit a lot from that. The other person that I think could benefit a lot from that is Mr. Kareem Hunt. Since coming back first game, 4 rushes for 30 yards. He got targeted 9 times, 7 receptions for 44 yards. Baker Mayfield, they're loving the use of Kareem Hunt. Check down passes, 14.4 fantasy points at his 4,800 price tag is a dream, and only receiving 1,000 bump, 14.4 fantasy points still gets you there. So I have no problem rostering Kareem Hunt today. I think that it's a fantastic play. Now, you have to look here at the Steelers defense. I mean, you can't deny what they've been doing. Double-digit fantasy points, 4 straight games here. 5, 6, 7 straight games, double-digit fantasy points, even going up against a dynamic Los Angeles Rams defense, holding Cooper Kupp to no targets through the first half. Through 3 quarters, he had no targets, holding a dynamic Chargers, Baltimore defense Baltimore offense as well, even holding San Francisco. The only troubles they had were against top teams, Seattle and New England. Cleveland's not a strong team. Baker Mayfield's had his share of troubles. And this leaves you around 6,200, which is a very tough spot today. But for the sake of GPP purposes, I think you play James Washington. I have no issue with James Washington today. He has deep ball threat. He went off against the Rams last week. He's a very quick guy on these one-game slates. He makes a lot of sense. Or Vance McDonald, somebody like that, make a lot of sense. The only other person I would want to maybe work up to would be Deontay Johnson, but I have no interest in Jalen Samuels today. I have no real interest in Odell Beckham. I don't mind him. He's definitely going to be an A play on the cheat sheet that I read up. He's definitely a solid play because the volume is always going to be there. I just personally have no I don't really have any interest in him today. So like I said, this makes a very interesting lineup here with these 5 guys in the lineup. Now, with a quarterback, I still think James Conner makes a lot of sense. I think James Conner makes a lot of sense with Rudolph, Juju, and Landry. You can get Kareem Hunt, and you're left with $3K. You can get somebody like Antonio Callaway, or you can get the Steelers defense at $5,200, and you can get Ricky Searles-Jones, who may play. And if he plays, he makes a solid tight end play because we've seen him catch a few touchdowns this year in some key games. So he makes sense at some sort of a one-game slate, one-off type of deal. Antonio Callaway, Dontrell Hilliard makes sense for GPPs. But I like these 4 guys. I like Conner, Juju, and Landry at the very least. Mason Rudolph, like I said, he just doesn't have that much of a ceiling. He doesn't even have that much of a floor. He has yet to reach over 20 fantasy points, so it's hard for me to roster him on these slates. Now, if I put Juju at captain, I would have to roster Mason Rudolph. It would make more sense. But for me, Baker Mayfield actually makes more sense. He would be the quarterback that I prefer, but I would assume that I probably won't be playing quarterback on this showdown slate. I don't think you need to play Mason Rudolph. I don't think you need to stress over that. And you could play all of these guys if you wanted to, and then play punt Antonio Callaway, who has been receiving targets. This could be your lineup here. You could have Juju, Conner, Beckham, Landry, Callaway. You could split it 3 from 3 and be completely fine. But nonetheless, James Conner, Juju, and Landry need to be a core. And I think they make the most sense. I think James Conner makes the most sense at captain in cash games. In GPPs, I think throwing in Juju or Jarvis Landry make a lot of sense. Over here on FanDuel, things get a little muddied. The quarterbacks are typically and will always be the highest paid guys over here on FanDuel. James Conner still makes the most sense for me at captain. Still like Juju, and I still like Jarvis. Leaves you with 11.5 left. You can do a lot with this 11.5. You can get a lot of guys. You can get Nick Chubb, drop down at 9K, and get Kareem Hunt. You could pay up if you wanted to for Odell Beckham Jr., drop off Kareem Hunt, and you're left with 11.5 still. You You could pay James Washington. You could go Deontay Johnson. You could go a lot of guys. You could even get up. You could get Mason Rudolph, Deontay Johnson, Juju, James Conner, and Jarvis Landry. You can get a lot of guys here over on FanDuel. The pricing, you're going to be left with some salary. That's for sure. These three guys make the most sense. I would throw these guys. I would throw in Odell, and I would throw in either James Washington, Kareem Hunt, or Deontay Johnson. I would probably throw in Kareem Hunt. This makes the most sense. You're getting the 2 weapons on Pittsburgh. You're getting the 3 weapons on Cleveland. You're covering all the bases here, and it makes a lot of sense. James Conner should always be your captain. I think if you're going to go one way or the other, you're either playing Baker or you're playing Mason Rudolph in tournaments. But I think in cash games you can get away without having to play a quarterback. I don't see why you would need to play a quarterback. If I'm going to play one, it's going to be Baker, only because of the volume. I think Mason Rudolph just doesn't throw a lot. He doesn't score fantasy points. I mean, they're both roughly 13 fantasy points per game. All of these receivers almost average more. James Conner, Nick Chubb, they average more per game. I mean, you can just play it safe over here on FanDuel and just play Nick Chubb, Conner, Juju, Landry, and Deontay Johnson. You could play all of those guys. I think on DraftKings it's harder to create a lineup, but on FanDuel this makes a lot of sense. You don't have to create with a quarterback. So, with that being said, the core for me right now is James Conner, Juju Smith-Schuster, and Jarvis Landry. I think those 3 are in the best spots as of now. I don't mind Odell. I like Kareem for value. I like Deontay Johnson on FanDuel for value. I like the Steelers D on DraftKings. I think they generate some points for sure. They're going to be a very popular play. So with that being said, that is going to conclude my breakdown. Hope you all enjoyed this and it helps you in one way or the other. If you wouldn't mind leaving a like on this video, subscribing, and commenting down below your favorite play on this Showdown slate. I might be doing a giveaway on these Showdown slates moving forward. So just leave a comment down below who your favorite play is on this Showdown slate. Love to interact with everybody here. So with that being said, good luck to everybody on the Showdown slate. Appreciate you all listening to these videos, and I will see you on Friday for the main slate breakdown video here on Sharp Sports Network. Peace.